And to see that and know those are the people's laundry that I'm working on at the moment, that brings me joy. That brings me peace. And you know what that is? That's like using organization as therapy. Hi, I'm Paige Killian, and I'm passionate about helping busy moms of littles get organized in 3 simple steps. So here's today's organization motivation. Hey, thanks so much for joining me again today. I want to talk about using organization as therapy. So I wanted to do an episode where I talk about how I've actually used organization for me as therapy in my life. So there's definitely no substitute for actually having a person who is a professional who's going to be able to give you tools to actually work through some things that are stressing you out. Organization for me has been something that has helped me in many ways of my life, in different stages and phases that I've gone through in my life as a young person, as a person who is going off to college and who was working and going to school at the same time, a person who was then out of college and in the workforce, not for the first time in my life, because I have been on payroll since I was 14 years old doing some work. But I just felt like by the time I got to be an adult, married, with children, working, starting my own business, it was super important to have organization be present in my life. But the truth is, I started doing these things when I was very young to help me with this anxiety, crippling anxiety and pressure that I would put on myself for a lot of different reasons. Now, I talk about in one of my earlier episodes how I am definitely a recovering perfectionist. I did not coin that phrase. Plenty of people say it. And the idea is that for a while, it really was important, especially as social media became more a thing and in your face and competitive, to be quite honest, that we look like we had it all together. And now it feels a little more popular or acceptable to admit when you're falling apart, when you're a hot mess, when you are not perfect. And I'm so grateful for that because I am the opposite of perfect. And it's funny, I remember that lots of my teacher friends or the parents of kids that I taught when I was a teacher would say things like, "Oh, you've got yourself together. You're so organized. You've got it all figured out." And I just was like, okay, wow. Well, then I am clearly, when my parents paid for all those theater classes when I was in college, they got their money's worth because it's an act. I knew that there were plenty of things I was struggling with on the home front, mentally, personally, physically. There were plenty of things in my life that I did not have figured out, and I still don't, and I never will. So let's still inspire. Let's still make efforts to do whatever it is we're trying to do well. Let's make time and energy and prepare ahead so that things that we are trying to accomplish actually happen, right? But the idea of being perfect and putting that look out is unrelatable. And I realized as a young person that I was putting so much pressure on myself to do to be an overachiever. There were things I always wanted to do. Whether it was in school, it was like, I'm the kid that's going to do the extra credit assignment every time, even if my grade is already 100, because I've decided that I want to make 103. I know, annoying, right? Ew. Who wants to be friends with that girl? Like, take a break. But at the same time, I was playing softball. I was doing plays, on stage and working scene tech stuff in the background. And I loved my life, and I loved babysitting, and I loved working at this retail job that I had. And I loved, doing all of that kind of stuff. And I feel like that kind of pressure that I was putting on myself to do all those things and do them well, because that's how I wanted to show up, caused more stress and anxiety in my life than enjoyment. And what I realized is that if I could organize my space around me, and if I could think about not taking on so much. If I could say no to things instead of always yes to things, because I was a people pleaser and I wanted, if somebody asked me to do something, I wanted to be able to say, sure, of course I'll do that for you. No problem. And then try to do like 10 times more than they even asked me to do. I was overwhelmed all the time. I didn't sleep well. I felt like many times my world was sort of coming in, crushing me. I felt the physical weight from that mental pressure that I was putting on myself. I realized I needed to organize my life in a way and like have realistic expectations. The thing that I really found was so beneficial for me was getting my space and my schedule on track, where I didn't have so much stuff that would, even if it was cool stuff, would start to take on that title of clutter. If there's just a mountain of stuff around you, even cool stuff, it starts to take on a mental clutter title, not just physical. At a young age, I started finding that organization was like therapy for me. And I tell my daughter all the time, like, you're so responsible. You're such a leader. I identify with that. I get it. And I was a big sister too. But you're going to have a better relationship with your little brother if you chill a little bit. And you just be a great example. So he wants to be like you. And then you guys can still have a very sweet relationship. In a lot of ways, setting our home up in an organized way allows her to be her best self and be a good example. Let's say coming home from school, she has a schedule and a physical home around her that has been organized in a way that lends itself to her being a great example to little brother, because she's going to drop her snack and lunch off on the kitchen counter, and then she's going to walk upstairs with her backpack. She's going to get changed, showered after school, get on her pajamas or cozy outfit for the rest of the day, get her homework done, eat her snack, have fun times with the family, or go to do an extracurricular activity, wherever, and then have dinner together, read some books, go to bed. Right? We have all of that stuff planned out because organization, we've organized our schedule, we've organized our space. So it lends itself to that. And in a lot of ways, that has become therapy for her. It is like a well-oiled machine. When we come in from school, these are the things that we do. And then I still help little brother do those things so that he can see what she's doing. She can be a great example, but then I'm sort of helping him through it, where I get to do the parenting, have him go from place to place, shower to PJs, to getting homework done, to eating dinner, all those things. But she just gets to have her space laid out for her, and the schedule and the plan ahead laid out for her, that it's almost taking that pressure of her having to be the perfectionist that is not only taking care of herself, but she's taking care of her little brother, and she's helping him get to the next activity and all of that. But it doesn't cause her to take on all of that stress and that anxiety and the pressure that I know was self-imposed on me as a kid. And I can see it already happening with her. She feels like she needs to step into that role for whatever reason. And we've been very clear with our kids that you guys just get to be fun siblings, right? You don't have to tell each other what to do. You can just be relaxed around each other and just be supportive and be sweet. And when one kid does something wrong, don't go telling mom and dad about it. If it's something they're really actually concerned that might be a problem or harm them or harm somebody else, they might whisper it in our ear and let us know about it. But gone are the days of tattletelling. I can't handle it. I'm like, let him get in trouble on his own. He doesn't need your help to be tattletelling. Is this, by any chance, is this resonating with you? Do you guys have kiddos that are these ages that are taking on these self-imposed responsibilities that you're like, what? Nobody asked you to do that. Nobody made you feel like you need to do that. You are not your brother's keeper, right? That is not something that you have to take on that role. I think in so many ways, if we have natural born leaders as kids, we do really need to watch what is in their space around them so that they feel like they have that control over their space and their schedules that they just innately need in order to thrive. I mean, structure is so great when it comes to that. Then we need to look at the kids who don't have that leadership background, where they really just want to kind of watch other people's examples and coast and live a more relaxed life and not feel like they have to be perfect and turn out great, incredible things. They are just the kids that live in the moment. I think that is a beautiful thing. I think lots of kids are creative and they are more feeling and more sensitive when that is sort of their MO. And I think that as a parent, it's our job to look at what it is that is their strong suit, what it is that might be seen as a weakness too, and really make sure that we are surrounding them with the type of organization that works best for them, so that it's like therapy. It's like loving. It's like a welcoming environment for them to be the best humans they can be, the way that works best for them in their style. And as a parent, ask yourself that. Am I trying to take on too much responsibility? Am I trying to do so many things that our schedules are flooded with stuff? Things that we have to go from this place to this place to this place. And now that more things are opening up and more opportunities are available to us because we're not having to social distance as much and we're not having to quarantine. Are you taking on too much? So organizing your life in lots of different areas can really be something that lends itself to therapy, because you have the tools. When you see a therapist, they give you the tools that are going to allow you to accomplish whatever it is you're trying to accomplish in your style, the way it works best for you. So whatever it is that you're wanting to bring into your life, I want you to step back and think, do we have the proper organization put in place so that this thing that I'm taking on is not going to cause me stress and anxiety and overwhelm and freak out now that perhaps it looks a little different now than it did before, whether that's on the home front, whether that's mentally, but just freeing up that clutter, having less, which allows you to open up to more opportunities, more physical space, because you're getting rid of that clutter, more mental clarity, because you're deciding you're going to take things on in a responsible way that works best for you. Even if that's something like, we've talked about the never ending mail pile that's going to continue to come in. Well, that certainly didn't stop during COVID. We still, even maybe more so, we were inundated with more magazines, bills, paperwork that's coming in about anything. I don't have to go down the list. You know what's in your mail pile. How's your mail pile looking? Is it one of those things that you need to have less of it because you need to properly tackle it once and for all? And then you'll have more countertop space because you don't have that mail pile that's, spilling over, causing you stress, frustration, anxiety every time you look at it, because you think, it's the last thing I want to do right now. I just do not want to deal with that never ending mail pile. I've talked about less is more. I've talked about shooting for getting 1% better. That's another thing. When you're talking about organizing and you're talking about having that therapy, that mental freeness, freedom, that's the word. When you're talking about having that freedom, when you're talking about having that peace of mind, I want you to think about managing realistic expectations when it comes to your organization. So managing realistic expectations may mean shooting for that 1% better instead of feeling like you have to organize everything all at once. It's not necessary. And honestly, that's not going to lend itself to good therapy practices. That's not going to feel like therapy because, oh my goodness, it's, that just adds more to your plate to do if you're trying to do it all at once. And then finally, I would like to say, whenever you've got the less is more mentality and you are doing that purge and getting rid of the stuff and you're managing your expectations, then I want you to really think about something that I feel is huge when we're talking about organization as therapy. And that is making sure that you are putting in the proper bins and containers and organizers to make your life work better. So putting in those actual bins, styling your space is going to be so helpful because now you have managed all of these expectations in a realistic way. You've purged that clutter, less is more. And now what you're left with is what you're going to put in place. And I will say that I really wanted to make sure when we moved into our new home that I organized my laundry room as a space that worked well for everybody, right? You get that, the utility of it all. You've got the bins where everything's in its place. And so you've got obviously the things that you need to do your laundry. So you've got the detergent and you've got the little bouncy wool balls that you're going to put in so your stuff's not staticky sticking to each other, So we have like those basic things. But also in our laundry room, we keep our kids' arts and crafts stuff. And we also keep some medication. And we also keep some cleaning supplies. And those were things that we wanted to make sure were organized just at a basic level. But what I decided I was going to do, and why I think it's so important to organize your space and put those containers in, is because then you're able to create a space that's actually beautiful. When I step into my laundry room, I don't dread doing laundry as much, and I really may not want to do it. I step in that room. I actually have the luxury of a door where I can close it because it's a room, but this may still be in your hallway. You can still achieve this. Is there a floating shelf that you could put up on the wall that's got a pretty little picture, a little plant, I was going to say candle. You have to be careful if you're not walking away. You don't want a lit candle to become a problem. So I actually have a reed diffuser in there. So it smells nice when I walk in. And there are memories there that I get to look at, and I get to think back on these sweet, little kid faces in the photo that I have of my kids in there. I have this sweet photo that was taken right after my husband and I got married. We had walked down the aisle and someone snapped a picture at the end of the aisle of us just embracing. And it was really sweet. And I just remember thinking that was an exciting time in our lives. And to see that and know those are the people's laundry that I'm working on at the moment, that brings me joy. That brings me peace. And you know what that is? That's like using organization as therapy. So if you think about places in your life that you can inject your own little therapy that makes you feel like you can relax, you have peace, it's organized in a way that's working best for you or whomever is coming in contact with these things. And you have those things organized in a way that keeps that anxiety, that stress, that overwhelm at bay, because that's not serving anyone. So instead of dreading having to get organized, maybe something is bothering you, an area is bothering you, flipping the switch, having a mindset shift where you think, you know what? I think I'm going to actually look at this fondly. I'm going to get organized because I want this to be a source of therapy for me. I want this to fill me up. I want this to be a space where I feel freedom from stress and anxiety and overwhelm and frustration. And I feel like I have tools to move on about my day. So I just want to challenge you today to remember that less is more. When you have less, you have more space, you have more opportunities to do things that bring you joy instead of stressing about all the stuff that you got to keep up with. I would like for you to think about having realistic expectations where you maybe are just shooting for 1% better in whatever area that you're trying to tackle, because that is what is going to have organization become therapy for you. It certainly has for me. And I don't know a life where that is not the case anymore. I have made organization a lifestyle for me, and it's helped so much. So think about rooms in your home. Think about how they might be lending itself to mental clutter and stress and frustration, and how can you get that working better for you? Hey, thanks for watching this video. For more resources to organize and style your busy life in 3 simple steps, head over to everythingwithstyle.com and connect with me on Instagram at everythingwithstylemom. Don't forget to check out the Mom's Organization Motivation podcast over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, any of your favorite platforms. And if you loved this video, it would make me so happy if you would subscribe and share it with your friends. Thanks so much for watching, and happy organizing.